What's going on YouTube? Earth Power here with CVH.
How's it going, everybody?
We are back for another match in the top 16 of the 2023 bracket tournament, season 1. Today we have Darkfire Deckout, the slow Avenger, versus Light Dark Nature Midrange. Knowingly, or what do you call it? AKA Totem Midrange.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen the other matches above that in the round of 16, they're all posted. If you haven't seen the deck profiles for Deckout or Totem Midrange or all the other ones that I've played so far, check them out in the channel. And we're just going to hop right on in to the match.
Yeah. So this is Gorby and I's first. This is Gorby's first appearance in the bracket tournament. So light dark nature mid range required some cards that we didn't have access to um, early on when we first started recording this a few weeks prior. Sorry, my computer screen keeps going out, and it's the little light show. That no one sees because I'm not on camera anymore.
Exactly.
But so yeah, we were waiting on Pincer Scarab. So that's a card, and we go over it in the deck profile. You guys can check that out. But now that we had him, Gorby and I were able to get together and record some of the top 8 matches that we weren't able to record initially, and finish out the top 8 and start 4 and all that. So we were able to get all that done. But this was essentially the deck we were waiting on. So as far as decks that I think you guys have seen in the past, you've seen versions of Deckout prior. There was a light version, Fire Dark Light version that we played on the channel in the past, which was also just a drag of the deck. It just the whole point of Deckout, and I'll let Christian kind of jump in here in a minute, but Deckout is just not unfun. I don't think that's the correct word, but it's just not fun to watch because it's never
Yeah.
gonna. Excuse me, it's never going to do a cool thing, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm
It's just
honestly a
going
little
to be
surprised that there's even
everything
creatures
silly.
on Gorby's board.
Yeah. So Gorby hits his turn 2 and his turn 3 there with a couple of pigs. Fortunately, I have the Squeedo to kind of get in their way, but um, Gorby's gonna have to win the game at some point. So the lines that we were theorizing earlier were, Pala and Petrova, hard cards for my deck to deal with. He goes
There's
ahead
one of
and
them.
plays Petrova here. He's banking on me not having the Blizzard.
Oh, but
He
there are
goes ahead
4
and
Blizzard of
calls
Spears in Deckout.
right. So if I have it, that stinks. But I telegraph the pit there. I hit the pit, which shows him that I might not have the Blizzard. So that might work out in Gorby's favor because basically the next turn is that if he has Pala, he can play it and essentially just lock down what Deckout can do. The idea that you talk about these top 16 matchups just in how we rank them and how their matchups kind of landed for the top 16. Deckout's worst matchup is Pala Petrova. Like decks that run those 2 cards are very difficult for Deckout to deal with because all of my removal that goes wide, Blizzard, Searing Wave, things like that, can't deal with Petrova and Pala. So I have to rely on, the singular removal to deal with the Palas one at a time and, somehow get to a point to where I can, kill Petrova. Fortunately, I top decked the Blizzard there, so I'm able to
Yeah.
clear it out.
So at this point, Gorby
But
has only 2 cards in hand. He can discard a little bit. But without Mr. Rios on the board or like a zombie carnival, there's really not a whole lot he can do to get card advantage back. And Deckout's in a great spot to just pick off threats as they're played.
right. So, going back to theory, Gorby, if depending on, obviously he curved out. So that's probably the proper way to play it is if you can curve out, drop some dudes down and avoid some of the kind of spot removal early on, break some shields, you can just kind of win the game.
Mm-hmm.
So, he plays Mysterios there, and that's where we have the conversation of like, oh, like maybe just playing cards is incorrect. Maybe
Yeah,
I just start manaing things and try to get to the zombie carnival slash just keep the palas in hand. Don't play them until I can play 2. Essentially.
exactly.
So and yeah,
Because
here's
Palas
what
is
we
Two Palas is
start
quite
to do.
annoying. Two Palas gets over Blizzard, Searing Wave, Declaws. But of course, you can then answer the Pela's one-on-one, or if they're only thing on the board, you can play like Proclamation or Terra Pit or anything like that. It's really the Pela Petrova combo that you mentioned that makes Pela have to be Terra Pitted and also keeps Petrova importantly out of range of Blizzard of Spears. Because playing Petrova by itself means Blizzard of Spears can kill that and then other things. So that's really, I think, the main threat to deck out. But at this point, it's seemingly too late for that strategy because at a certain point, Deckout does play its future slash and slash chargers and can just mill the Petrovas out of the deck. And then you have to find the Zombie Carnival, and it really depends on how much mill Carl sees versus how many Pelas and Petrovas Gorby sees. Because again, those could be in shields, and Deckout is never breaking those shields. So if they're in shields, they're just trapped.
Right. Yeah. Fortunately, because of the limiting of clamp, yeah, Gorby just plays out a Pala here, and I think yeah, maybe the conversation was not had, or maybe he's holding on to the Zombie Carnival, which might be
Yeah.
what he's trying to do here, but it's uncertain.
Yeah.
So I
And
can't
so
quite
Deckout
figure out
again only has
where the conversation or lack of was happening. So
oh,
he
he
had
does have
Zombie
Zombie
Carnival.
Carnival. Yeah.
So yeah, so that's happening now. Or at least it
But
should
as you
be.
mentioned, for functional discard, Deckout only has Cranium Clamp and the Declawaz effect. So holding a bunch of the really annoying cards that you mentioned, the Pelas and Petrovas, totally legit strategy for Gorby. If there was a copy of Lost Soul in Carl's deck in Deckout, then maybe there is another layer to that where you maybe don't feel safe holding. But as it is, oh look, a Pincer Scarab's on the board.
Yeah, Pincer
That's fun.
Scarab's big, and he's running me out of pits and vortexes, which I think is the reason why that got played out. But
How
I'm
large is
going to
this? It's pretty big,
my
right?
audio is funny. I'm gonna cut myself out and back on. So if you want to take the helm for a minute, give me like 30
All right.
seconds to fix it.
Sounds good. I've done commentary before. We can do this. Yeah, that's a huge Pincer Scarab that is now dead. Carl's got the Skeeto, and it looks like Zombie Carnival is coming down for Gorby. I have to imagine. I think there's only one Petrova in the discard pile, so I feel like this is or he's just thinking about it so far. But I feel like Guardians would be the choice if he does go for the Carnival here. He's looking at the discard piles. He's looking at the graveyards, seeing what removal still exists. Probably seeing if there's a Cranium Clamp that he has to be worried about. That discard pile is just immense, isn't it? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, yeah. All right, I think I'm back now. I think we're good. I can hear everybody again. Um,
Everybody, who else is here?
yeah, you. I can hear all of you. So
Woo!
yes, Carnival should go for Guardians at this point. I believe you can get back two Palas and yeah, the Lucky
Yeah,
LX.
that's strong.
Um, and yeah, and so this is the realization that oh, like this is how this deck works. Um, there was also a minor moment, I think, early on in the game where Gorby didn't realize that Declawaz could kill things in hand with 3,000 power. He
Oh,
thought that they got their power in hand, so it was like showing power. So,
what do you mean? Like
uh,
if there was a Pela on board that would affect the hand?
well, if there, it was
Petrova?
I think it was I can't remember where the conversation or lack of it came from, but I know there was a reason he didn't play that Lucky Lex and mana earlier.
Oh, well, it's back now. And yep, Gorby has all the 9 mana required and the colors, and it looks like everything is impervious to Blizzard Spears. Apocalypse
And
Vice would kill one thing, but it's not in the
I
deck.
think this is the moment in the game where the music says something. It's like it doesn't freaking matter or something like that.
Oh, well, I'm not gonna
Which
bring that in because you'll get striked immediately, but doesn't freaking matter, guys. And also, I'd mess it up, and it's at 1.5 times speed.
yeah. But where Gorby had music on in the background, and whatever we were listening to at the time, basically told me that it didn't matter. As soon as he played that on board, my whole hand was like wide removal, and I couldn't
Yeah,
touch any of.
you really need to have a Terra Pit for Lucky Lex. I mean, having the Palas on board, it's like it actually seems like they'd be fine to leave if you can just one for one everything else, but like you run out of one for one removal eventually that's not power based, and also there's one Larbagear in the deck that could just kill you at any point now,
Yeah,
which is an amazing
just
tech choice that you told us to play. Yeah, but yeah, it looks like Gorby just needs any removal on his own end and can close out this game. I've got to imagine he's probably have it, or maybe not. Ah, there's the Larbagear. Yeah,
there it is. Just
plays another bait just to BM a little bit.
yeah, yeah. Look at my Searing Wave double blizzard there that wasn't doing a whole lot to anything.
Gotta say, since we did decide last minute to not put Lightfire Rush in the bracket, it's nice to see a Larbagear victory.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, Larbagear was a fun. I think that card was initially, and you guys can watch the profile below. I think we mentioned it. Larbagear was initially a Glen Vale, the card.
Yeah,
It's like a 5 mana, 8,000 power, does stuff when your opponent activates shield triggers. And like while the power's cute, we figured the utility was better in a mid range deck.
for this
And
deck in
three
particular,
mana,
yeah.
5 mana, yeah, especially where you can just kind of it's another pseudo all that can fast attack if you need it to. So
But I do see
everybody,
Glenavale in some overseas decks that use Guardians, namely Hydra Hurricane decks, and I get it there because they need the Larbagear less because they have so much board disruption. But for this deck, not a whole lot. Like, we don't have a way to bounce a few things at once in Totem
yeah.
midrange. So now let's see. We're on game 2. We will see if the conversations y'all had in game 1 in this highly unusual matchup change the way Gorby approaches his playing of his curve or lack thereof. Oh my
Oh,
god.
yeah. The cat knocked over the camera. I forgot about this one.
That was like, oh my god, I have it like maximized right now. That was a jump scare.
Yeah. So
Oh
the cat,
god.
and turn the audio back on. The cat just made a massive meow and then just jumped into the chair where the camera was, knocked everything over. Gorby and I both saw it happening in slow motion. We were like, there's nothing we can do here. We just have
Leave
to
a leave
readjust.
a leave a comment
Reset.
down below if you think we should post that little clip separate with the raw audio. I think we definitely should.
Absolutely.
My
So we'll
goodness.
have some, we can definitely post some bloopers here in a little bit. We've come
We've
up with a
mentioned this
few.
before, but so back 10 years ago, like Carl and I live with our parents, right? So like we were just for some reason it was easier to record living with our parents than it is now that we actually own our own places and like have partners and everything. Like pets, partners, people cooking in the background, people talking all kinds of nonsense. It's hard, man. That's why we're doing these narrations. You know, things just happen. Life happens to you. Adulting is really hard. We're
Very
trying to hold
much
on
so.
to our childhood here.
And for lack of, I mean, and even just another point of all of that, like I said, I know you guys like the old rigmarole of us just talking back and forth. Being able to cut what was a 45-minute match down to 20 to 25 minutes
Yeah.
feels better. I don't know I don't know how many people would rather just listen to Gorby and I, listen to some lo-fi music and just kind of bicker at each other off and on
Yeah, I mean,
with,
YouTube wouldn't like that lo-fi, I'll tell you that.
yeah, well, with about 20 minutes of just no conversation.
Yeah.
Gorby has the clamp there,
He does the one
focus
of
on that.
clamp. Pretty good. Pretty good. You have no draw
Yeah,
in your deck at all.
no, not at all. So Gorby able to take me off of cards here. So I grabbed the Zombie Carnival because I realized that that's the MVP of this matchup.
Yeah.
And speaking
I
of
think
cats, I got
you gotta go Carnival first, then you gotta go Petrova, and then finally you go Payless. I think that's the order. Assuming you could mill all that, which with 2 Future Slash and 2 Slash you can't. But that'd be the order that I think you would go in if you were going to pick one.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
it was a long match and it's nice to cut it down, I'll tell you. One
Yeah. So
single Petrova. This is really interesting, isn't it?
Gorby rolls it out. He actually maned a Petrova and a Pala here, which
I guess
was
it's
a little offsetting, but I think it's because he has the other ones.
well, the really interesting thing here is like if you just wait until you have Petrova and Pela, the Pela protects Petrova from Wizard of Spears, which in this deck is the only answer. So at that time, yeah, actually, yeah, that would be the only real answer here. So the Blizzard, there you go. You find it.
Yeah.
Yeah, really interesting. Not to just, wait an infinite number of turns to find the Pela. It doesn't make it impervious. Obviously, you can deal with the Pela one for one and then play Blizzard, but yeah, I feel like Gorby at this point probably knows that it's going to be a long, long game if he's going to win. So
Yeah.
maybe
And
waiting
that
more wouldn't matter.
so he doesn't have the zombie carnival, which is
Well,
why I go for the two pip.
there's 3 zombie carnivals in the deck, right? And 2 are in discard. Does that mean the third is in shields?
There's two zombie carnivals and
Oh, you're right. And they're both gone. So 2
yeah.
zombie carnivals gone, 2 Petrovas gone, and 3 Pelas gone?
Yep. So
Wow,
now
all the
Gorby's
Petrovas are
basically
gone.
on the just I'm going to try to win this game by dropping dudes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is so fun fact. Deckout loves when all you do is drop dudes.
Yeah.
It's like its favorite
Yeah.
thing.
Deck out should be able to 1-for-1 better than any other deck in the meta. So
Yep.
that's where we're at.
We got some
Yeah.
discarding some removal, probably leaving Carl with, spoiler alert, some more removal, because that is the
Loba's
deck.
card. You know, it's one of those things where in this matchup it was kind of the unsung hero because it's just a body that deals with that does something to me that I don't want it to, but also represents a body on board, so it should just eat up 2 cards every single time.
Yeah, Locomotive is great, and Gigaballs is great too. Let's hear it for the unsung heroes. Also, fun fact, it is a strict misplay to play Locomotiver in Light Dark Nature Tempo instead of Gigabalza, because Locomotiver is the more common card, and on the off chance you have to Petrova your Locomotiver, you do not want opposing Locomotivers to get the buff in a deck like Hydru's where they have to play Locomotiver.
Oh.
However, if you're up against Phantomac and you're playing Gigabalza, then you Petrova and their Gigabalzas also get the power. Weird. Weird. Is it correct to run a 2-2 split? What do you do? Petrova problems, right?
I mean, heck, I mean, you bring up a good point. That's some food for thought as we watch deck out 1-for-1 for the next 4 turns. Let's
Yeah, we've
talk
got to
about
find
that.
something to talk about. That's not Duel Masters. Hmm.
We had 9 mana here. I
Oh,
believe
and
we will have.
to your comment on why we don't, why we do these voiceovers. There by this point there should be a video on your channel that I will have uploaded titled "Why We Don't Post Live Commentary." I
Right.
have
Yeah.
I have not shown that to you yet, but I'm confident that it'll be on the channel by this point. Because I made it today, and I'm happy with it. Hey, we have the Pela Petrova. How did we even get here? Soul swap?
Okay. Yes. So Gorby played Luki Alex into Pela, and then soul swapped the Luki Alex to bring out Petrova.
Solid.
Um. So, however, I have 9 mana, and I'm able to
Oh,
do Hopeless Vortex Proclamation. So
I
I
didn't
know
even
I may
think
have
about
said
Proclamation.
that deck out didn't have spicy plays, but that is probably the only one we'll ever see.
I did not even think about Proclamation of Death as a 1-for-1. Yeah, that cements that I don't think Gorby should have played that Petrova by itself a long time ago, because Proclamation of Death is such a blowout, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
We are running
So
out of cards quickly, everybody.
Gorby Terrapit's a Skeeto, because what else is there to Terrapit?
And all you have to do is pass,
Yep.
but you're still gonna kill. Isn't the game over at that point?
Yep. And just BM me. Yep.
Oh, but the game
So
ends when you draw the last card, right?
I think you do get the maybe it is. I don't know. Kaijudo changed it, which is why I'm never sure what the actual proper thing is if you get to play your last card when you draw it.
Oh,
Because I
I'm
know Kaiju,
pretty. It really did
but,
change it?
you know, for someone who has access to the internet who can look at things, seems like something to do while we wait for us
Yeah.
to shuffle up and talk about going to game 3.
Game 3. Deckout versus Light Dark Nature Midrange. Who's gonna take it and be up against I'll just say it if you haven't seen the previous match, Phantomac in the round of 8. Also, as a reminder, if you made it this far but didn't hear me at the beginning, 3 to 5 minute deck profiles for both of these decks and all the decks already played in the round of 16 are up on the channel. So check them out as we get closer and closer to top 8.
Let's read. These are a bunch of cards that give you win conditions. Just want to know how to win the game of Duel Masters without a card effect. Let's see.
All right, Mystrios down in mana early for Gorby. Pretty much anything could be a reasonable mana decision in this matchup, except for probably the Palas and Petrovas. I would be shocked to see them hit mana again. I know there's the 2 soul swaps, but still, he's probably going to want to hold him because, again, Carl's only real answer is the Cranium Clamp. And even playing like Quixotic Hero early is a little bit, I'm not going to say strange or wrong, but like you definitely don't want to get to a point where if you get Cranium Clamped, you lose a Pela or Petrova, even though you have the zombie carnivals. Like right here, I think Gorby only has 3 in hand. So moving into turn 4, he's not going to be able to play Petrova yet. If he plays something else, Cranium Clamp just like default kills it early, which is
Yeah. So the conversation I think Gorby and I had after that game too was that my only form of discard is Cranium Clamp. So if I deal with the early rush, like if you do
Hmm.
curve out with, pig, if you hit the pig early and I deal with them, you just mana cards until you can play Pala and Petrova and and that's it.
Well, would you still
So
even attempt to play these Quixotic heroes out? Because he was, obviously, and they died, as they do.
as long as you have as long as a clamp isn't going to make you discard Pala and or Petrova.
Okay, that's fair.
So which was the whole idea here is, okay, so we're on the Pala wins me the game plan.
Yep.
So you see Gorby now, just I think this is the game where yeah, he manas forever until he can hit the win con. So
Yep, and we'll have to see if he either has it already or if Carl's able to mill it out of his deck before he draws them. And of course, if it's locked in shields, Deckout's never breaking shields, so we'll see how that goes. Carl will probably continue going for Zombie Carnival first. There's only one more to mill if it's not in shields already. And then if they're all gone, start hitting Petrovas.
yep, and there they are. So shout out
So only
to
one
what
Petrova is left. Just throwing that out there.
is it?
Yeah, because you milled one, so only one Petrova is left in the deck, right? There's only two in
Oh, there's three. There's three in it.
Is there?
There. Yep. Like
Oh,
Turbo plays three Petrova. Or mid range plays three Petrova. I think it's three Petrova, four power.
the more you know.
So yeah, so win conditions in Duel Masters. When he draws his last card, he loses.
Nice. So that last turn didn't exist. Ignore it.
Right. So shout outs to us knowing that now.
Okay, so there's one of the other Petrovas. And Alukia
Yep.
Lex. What did he call with this Petrova? Guardian, I imagine, because there's a Guardian on board.
Yeah. He's always called Guardian. Plays.
Nice. Yeah, you'd hate to call Hedrian and then have that motorcycle mutant buffed.
And he topped the palette, which was
Oh, that is absolutely disgusting.
so Gorby's very safe here. Barring him hitting a Terror Pit there, which I think was the conversation on whether or not to attack. Barring him hitting a Terror Pit on Pala, I have no way to deal with that board at 8 mana.
Yeah.
I could double Proclamation if I had it,
But
but
Blizzard is still... No, it's not. Blizzard is terrible
Blizzard's
here.
Blizzard will kill Loco, and that's it.
So
Right?
you really needed to have at least... Yeah, you gotta like Terror Pit a Pela and then set up to kill stuff next turn, but doesn't look like you could kill anything immediately. Cryptic's just here now. That's fun.
It's huge. Yeah, the conversation here was whether or not to swing.
Well, he knows you don't have
Decloise,
Pit, right? Probably.
yeah, so I didn't have Pit. I think I top it here.
Okay.
I believe I have Pit in hand now, and I know I have the wide removal, but it's being able to do those things. So
Yeah. Oh, and now Pela Oasis attacks over Decloise if it wants.
yeah, which was unfortunate, but
He's
in
not
order
drawing
to
great
not,
now, though. You know, so you're
yeah,
getting some time here with the Lyra Giga top deck is probably just objectively the worst thing he could have drawn.
yeah, yeah. I need to be able to deal with Pala and then follow that up with dealing with Petrova somehow, but my deck
Hmm.
doesn't have a way to do that by going without going wide. So I need to be able to clear the Pala and then clear the Petrova. And
But it
I
looks like
think
you're
I'm
you're ditching Larba Gears at this point, so this is probably like the last wave of Pelas and Petrovas that you have to deal with. If you can
right.
manage to weather this storm. Terror Pit off the top. Oh my god. That's so brutal.
Yeah,
It's
I think I'm gonna
disgusting.
go. Yeah, APOC deals with Pala. Yeah,
Oh,
because I don't
wow.
have 12 mana yet. So I
Dude,
can't
his
play.
draws.
Yeah, yeah.
The
Pincer
Terror
Scarab's
Pit.
just huge. But I think I have the 11 mana here, so I can go wide. Um, finally.
Yeah, but I mean the Terror Pit
Yeah,
and the Scarab off the top, I just can't get over it. I mean, he did draw Lyra Giga the turn before, but like, damn, those
yeah,
draws. That Motorcycle Mutant was actually going to be quite good for you and give you a few turns, but yeah, crazy stuff. You have so much mana.
yeah. So it's 4 for the
Motorcycle.
Walker, 6 for the Blizzard. Blizzard doesn't clear our Giga with you,
It's true.
but it does get Trove off the board. So
Is
now,
is
barring him
um
topping,
is
I
Motorcycle
should be able.
Mutant bigger than Scarab yet? Yeah,
I don't
yeah. He didn't attack,
think it
so
was.
yeah.
Yeah, I got myself down to 2 cards in hand, so he's at 5,000.
Okay.
Saying,
Charger.
now I have all the weenie removal. So
Proclamation. Oh, you
I
don't have a death.
can
There is no death
choose a
smoke, is
thing.
there? In this version, I don't remember. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so I have no hand now, so it's literally just the top deck wars.
Wow, this is looking
So
good for you.
yeah, so ideally, if I can keep him off of being able, if I can keep him from going wide again, I should be okay.
Oh, yeah, and you
Yeah,
had
and I have
no.
weenie removal, and he has Terrapin. Yeah, so
Wow,
yeah, just super
wow,
unfortunate. Look at those shield triggers.
wow.
Yeah, what a game.
That was. I mean, I knew the results because you told me, but that was still a wild ride. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
knew
yeah,
that
yeah.
I knew that he was gonna win, but then like when you stabilized, I was like, oh, there's a chance here. That matchup is close for sure. Even with the Palas and Petrovas, I think it speaks to Deckout's strength that like after y'all talked about it, you still won game two. Like all you need is for a couple of the wrong cards to be in shields, and you need to draw the mill before all the pieces fall into to play.
Or just
But
the unfortunate thing, like Gorby did when he started the match with 2 Petrovas, 2 Palas in hand, which in theory would be good, but it basically just keeps him from just not being able to do anything for the first like 4 or 5 turns, and if he gets clamped, that's awful. So, and if I'm milling in the meantime, hitting the zombie carnivals, like he just has to get to a point to where he can play all those cards at once. So,
yeah, it's really interesting because honestly, looking at the bracket, I can't think, maybe survivors. I can't think of a deck besides the Palapetrova deck that I would want to play less as deck out. So that was really, and even then it was game three and like it's a close matchup. I wouldn't rule anyone out. That's really interesting. But let's update the bracket and
yeah,
see where we stand.
it comes. Yeah, I think prior to this match, because we already knew that Phantomac had moved on to top 8. So if Deckout beats Totem Midrange, if it beats the Pala Petrova deck, it goes into another matchup that has Palas. So, and it has just creatures that can get very big very quickly. Pala and double Pala, but just on top of Gigapi Ponto and all that, just means you'll usually stick a creature, even if I can deal with them one at a time, even if I have the wide removal. So, it was interesting to think that like deck out at that point would have to get through 2 Pala decks, which on paper are its worst matchups, even if it did get past Totem mid range here.
Yeah, I mean Petrova's and the Totem mid range are the real killer there. And this
Yeah.
current iteration of Phantomac doesn't play him, but maybe that's a thing for the future too. But that is 75% of the round of 16. We've got Marino, Mana Burn, Fire Nature Rush, and Survivors yet to see. And a top
We're
8 is
getting
forming.
through it. Yeah, no. So yeah, stay on the lookout, guys. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Thanks for all your comments throughout. And yeah, leave a like if you guys have enjoyed. Um, Marino versus Manaburn is up next for the people, correct?
It certainly is.
I
Finally get
can't.
to see that Mana Burn in action. But hey, deck profiles are coming up first too.
Yeah, for sure. Stay on the lookout for that, guys, and hopefully we'll see you guys next time.
Each.